Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Civil War Reports. I am your War of the Rebellion reporter, Brian Thomas Kopak. And today is a special edition of Civil War Reports because I am not in the South, although I am going to be talking about a lost monument. In fact, I am in my old home state of New York. I'm in the state capital of Albany, and I'm here to report on the removal of a monument, not of a Confederate, but of an American Revolutionary War general, Major-General Philip Schuyler, who was part of George Washington's inner circle. He's not really the most famous general you'll hear of the American Revolution, but he was part of George Washington's inner circle. And there was a monument over there, I showed it to you a few moments ago, of him, and it was erected in 1925, and it was there on until June of the year 2023. And why was it removed? Well, General Schuler just happened to be one of, if not the largest, slave owners in the Albany area during the American Revolution. And according to David Galen, who is the spokesman for Mayor Kathy Sheehan, this monument had to go because of the fact that he was a slave owner. Okay? And this really came to a head for two reasons. One, and I'm sure this was benign, but he apparently was profiled in the Lin-Manuel Miranda play Hamilton, which was very popular on Broadway a few years ago. And you may not know who General Schuler was, but you probably know his son-in-law, the more famous Alexander Hamilton. And so, because of that, controversy began to swell about General Schuler's life and the fact that he was a major slaveholder. And the second reason was this really came to a head in 2020 following the unfortunate murder of George Floyd. Now, let's recap, because I mentioned this, I believe, on this channel before. George Floyd was murdered, not in the Deep South, not by a group of white supremacists, but he was murdered by a policeman in Minnesota. And the last time I looked, Minnesota was in the north. But that incident has become the catalyst now to suppress American history. I've mentioned on this channel before also that it would have, and especially in this case, would have been a lot cheaper and a lot less hassle and a lot less offensive to people like myself who love American history to just simply put a plaque or some sort of marker next to the statue indicating he was a major slaveholder. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this here for a minute. This is not the first statue to be removed in New York State in recent years. A few years ago, when Bill de Blasio was mayor of New York City, a statue to Thomas Jefferson was removed from New York City Hall. Okay? Let's take a look at this for a moment, shall we? Thomas Jefferson is the founder of the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party can trace its roots back to Thomas Jefferson. His statue was removed from New York City Hall for the same reason, because he owned slaves. Now, I am not in any way, shape, and form condoning slavery. In fact, I've already mentioned on this channel that it is a sin that is going to plague the United States for as long as the United States exists. But we cannot just erase history, because I strongly believe that if we forget our past, we are condemned to repeat it. So I did actually reach out to Mayor Sheehan for a comment on this. And by the way, I need to thank my co-worker Matthew again, because he's the one who brought these articles to my attention. And I did reach out to Mayor Kathy Sheehan for comment, and I have to say they are getting quicker with the "no, we won't talk to you" responses. I'm still waiting on a response from the mayor of Richmond, who, from what I understand, is a Democrat. At least I can understand with West Point about renaming buildings and roads there after Confederates. there's really nothing the superintendent there could have said to me because he's a soldier, he's got to follow orders. But at least with Kathy Sheehan, her people got back to me within about an hour to say she's not going to speak to me. And I'm not surprised, because after all, when you know you're doing wrong, you don't want to go on record and have somebody like me interview you and have it go on record that, you did something wrong here. Again, they could have easily have placed a marker or a monument next to where this statue was, identifying that General Schuler was a major slaveholder. Now, he wasn't breaking the law, and yes, maybe he should have done something other than own slaves. Maybe he should have known it was morally wrong to do it, but he was not breaking the law. And I want to talk now about what I consider to be the upcoming chill factor here. So I want to spend a few moments here making a comparison between what happened here to General Schuler versus what's happening to the Confederate monuments. When I make these videos about Southern monuments, I get a lot of comments that the Confederates were traitors and they were perpetuating slavery. While I understand the arguments, I don't agree with them. I understand them, I understand where they're coming from. I don't agree that those are good arguments. General Schuler fought in the American Revolution, and that was not a war about perpetuating slavery. And let's look at facts. Shall we look at facts? Slavery was introduced to this country by the mother country, England. The first slaves to arrive in the New World, 1619. Virginia was a colony of England. And so all the American Revolution was simply trying to break away from the mother country. General Schuler broke no laws. Yes, maybe he should have realized what he was doing was immoral, but he was breaking no laws. Thomas Jefferson, the main author of the Declaration of Independence, was also very much against slavery. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, he spells out, all men are created equal. And in fact, he did mention the evils of slavery, but in committee, those words were stricken from the final draft, unfortunately. So General Schuler was trying to bring about a new nation. It had nothing to do with slavery. And here's the sad part, and I want to talk about the chilling effect. We're already removing Confederate monuments, and in my opinion, that's erasing American history. In fact, I didn't even know of General Schuler until my coworker gave me these articles. And again, thank you, Matthew, for doing your diligence to keep me informed of this stuff. And what I fear most is, where is this going to end? George Washington, the man who's considered the father of our country, first in war, first in peace, first in the hearts of our countrymen, he owned a lot of slaves too. I mean, are we soon going to be erasing his history, removing his statues? Should we all rush to Washington, D.C. to visit the Washington Monument and the Jefferson Memorial before they're torn down? Again, I've reached out to Mayor Sheehan. She did not respond. I did not try to reach former Mayor Bill de Blasio, but I have a question I want to ask of these people. To the mayor of Richmond, who destroyed Monument Row, to Mayor Sheehan, who removed this statue, to Bill de Blasio, who removed the statue of Thomas Jefferson. Where does this end? When are we going to say enough is enough? Okay? Do you folks want to be judged by the moral code of 200 to 250 years ago? Do you want to decide, do you want people in 2 centuries from now to decide whether you were moral based on the standards in the future? Or do you want to decide whether or not you were a good person based upon the standards in which you lived in? I can honestly say this, I could bet the farm on this one, as the old saying goes. I don't think Mayor Bill de Blasio or Mayor Sheehan have anything to worry about because I don't think anybody, anywhere, anytime, now or in the future, is ever going to erect a monument for those people. So your legacy is safe. I think it's going to be pretty bad. And as for these people, and one of these articles does say that they moved the monument and placed it in storage, and the Confederate monuments, I've also read that they don't know what to do with them. All right, I got a great idea. You can bring them to my house. You can put them in my backyard. I will create my own monument row, and I will honor these people. I will honor a man who risked his life and his limb and his property to create the United States of America. Yes, was it wrong of him to own slaves? But I am not going to dwell on that, because the man created something bigger. He created something better. He was part of the creation of the United States of America. And to me, if you want to bash the man for doing something that was perfectly legal at the time, you could have taken my advice that I've mentioned on this channel before and placed a monument or a marker or a plaque next to him talking about the slaves he owned, instead of removing this man, purging him from the good work he did to create the United States of America. For Civil War Reports, I want to thank you for watching this special edition. This nonsense with the monuments is not getting out of hand. It has gotten out of hand. It is time for people who love American history, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, to either vote these people out of office or to send a message that they will be voted out if they don't stop the nonsense and return American history. I want to thank you for watching. Until next time, please respect yourself, respect each other, and let's keep the history alive. And if you like what you saw today, please hit the subscribe button, give a thumbs up. Also, notify your friends, let them know about this channel, and ask them to subscribe as well. If you like, you may leave a question or a comment below, and perhaps I will answer your question in a future episode of Civil War Reports. Until next time, please keep the history alive.